What is driving the dynamic shift in ETH order flow? Hey guys, it's Keith Allen. Been a minute since I've done one of these, and well, maybe it shows on how clunky I was through the intro. Hope you guys are having a good week. Hope you're making money. Hope you are mitigating some risk as we near the monthly close. Volatility always expected around this time, and quite frankly, it's not as high as you might have anticipated. But we're going to look into that. But what we're really going to focus on in this episode is what is behind this dynamic shift in ETH. Why has ETH been rallying so strong? Why have we seen that divergence between Bitcoin dominance and ETH and Total 3 for that matter? And what might this mean in the future? So we will climb into all that and more. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have insights, they're all welcome here. Live chat is open, and it's always better when you guys engage. I really enjoy that. So if you're new to the stream, again, welcome. My name's Keith Allen. I'm a work-from-home dad. I'm co-founder of Material Indicators. I'm a full-time trader. Let me know what else you need to know. And if you are a returning member, thank you so much. Truly appreciate the continued support. So without further ado, let's go ahead and climb in, and I'm going to start here on, I guess it makes sense to start on an ETH chart, right? That's what we're talking here today. So we will start on the ETH chart, and let me get that screen shared for you, and we will climb right in to what has been behind this price action, at least what I think has been behind this price action. And so opening up here on the ETH chart, we can move it to let's move it to the daily time frame here. And you can see that, on the short term that we lost this short-term trend. But really what I want to talk about is what's behind this trend here, right? This dates back to the beginning of July, which has really just been rock solid. I mean, ETH has been on a pretty good trajectory through, since the beginning of the year, to be honest with you. And if we zoom out a bit, we can see, let's see what's going on here. Here we go. If we zoom out a bit here, we can see really things kicked off in April after the, after the big tariff scare, similarly to what happened with Bitcoin and the rest of the market for that matter. So this has been a nice trend. This is really the macro trend here. And this is micro. This is what's been happening in the last month. And what triggered this, in my opinion, is this recent and developing trend from that really started with Tom Lee, who is the chief strategist and co-founder over at Fundstrat. Tom Lee is a long time, for anybody who doesn't know, Tom Lee is a long time, Wall Street veteran. He was actually really the first, I think, from Wall Street to recommend Bitcoin. And this goes back to 2017, which is about the time that I got in. So he's an early adopter. He's always had this vision, but he's got a great track record, has worked with some major legacy finance companies before moving on to and co-founding Fundstrat. He's got a great track record of calling macro tops and bottoms. And he had the foresight back in 2017 to start recommending Bitcoin. And now he has been tapped for a new role with an organization, a publicly traded company that is adopting, or actually pivoting to, a Bitcoin mining company that is pivoting to an ETH treasury strategy. And if you followed this stream in the past, you know that I haven't been a huge fan of the treasury strategy concept, in that I personally would rather own the underlying asset than invest in than a company who is putting digital assets on their balance sheet to hedge. So I personally do not own any MicroStrategy. Obviously, Michael Saylor is the number one evangelist on that strategy, and he's gotten some adopters to follow in his footsteps. A lot of them at the corporate level. And a lot of them, and he's also gotten the president to do that. So there's that. And Tom Lee is doing the same thing with ETH only he has a much different narrative here than Saylor does. He has taken the lead from Saylor in terms of this concept of starting a treasury based company or pivoting one into a treasury. Um, However, there's some vast differences between what's happening with the Bitcoin treasury companies and the ETH treasury companies, and that is largely based on the interpretation of the value, the future value of those assets, not so much for their current price value and those price targets, but more importantly, how they will be used. Bitcoin is largely thought to be on its way to becoming a world reserve currency. It has a finite supply. It's deflationary, and so because there's a fixed supply, it is deemed that demand will drive price much higher over time. And as we see more adoption, especially moving towards that world reserve currency status, things could change drastically, and Bitcoin could be worth millions, potentially tens of millions of dollars somewhere down the road. ETH has a different narrative. I have not heard or read of too many. I haven't heard or read of any multi-million-dollar price targets for ETH. However, what I have heard and read is that ETH, if Bitcoin is digital gold, then ETH is digital oil. That's the narrative there, meaning that ETH is going to be used to run the financial system. ETH is going to be the underlying asset, and it's going to be the blockchain that is used for all of these programmable financial instruments that we believe are the future of finance. And so if you believe in the future of finance, and if you're in crypto, then that's probably why you're here, at least if you're an OG. Then that might give you some interest in ETH. And so this is really largely what Tom Lee's strategy is. And I posted something the other day on my X channel. So BitMine is the company that tapped Tom Lee. And so he's now chairman of the board of BitMine. They're pivoting or have pivoted, I should say, into an ETH treasury company. They still obviously have some Bitcoin, and they still have some mining related business. But I think that's mostly a hedge towards their goal of owning 5% of all the ETH ever produced. And because ETH is not a fixed supply asset, that means they will have to continually accumulate ETH as they get there. They've only been around, they've only started this strategy like this month. So it's really been less than 3 weeks, and they already have 0.5% of all ETH in circulation, which is rather impressive in my opinion. And so it's this strategy. And if you're interested, this thread here is basically the pitch deck I think that Tom Lee used to get some investors. So on your time, go ahead to my X page, and you can find that. Of course, you can also just do a search online and find it as well. But it's right here, tidy for you, on my X page at KA Productions. Beyond that, we're seeing some changes here in price action here this week, and of course, over the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of interest in a potential alt season, which, as I have told you guys on multiple occasions over the past week or two, alt season, we're starting to see the ingredients, but we don't have the full recipe yet. We're not there yet. And if we look at this chart, which marks Bitcoin dominance relative to Total 3 ES. Total 3 ES is market cap of the top 100 coins minus Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stable coins. And then there's the stablecoin dominance here. And so we're seeing a little change here as well. So what got people excited was this initial divergence that we started to see forming between Total 3 and Bitcoin dominance, as Bitcoin dominance dropped from really up here in the 60s down to let's see exactly where that was. This was like hold on a second. Let me switch to this on so I don't have to move my chart around. This was almost 66% in Bitcoin dominance, and it peaked. And at that time, we started to see this total 3 ES really start to pump. But what made this really start to look like an alt season was developing was the fact that stablecoin dominance was falling so aggressively. And at the moment, we've seen over the past few days, we've seen a little bit of a chop between this, this divergence, and that's okay. There are no straight lines. We've seen this before. It happens. This back here is when we saw that rally off of the election day pump, and so similarly, it's not just straight lines. Okay, so a little bit of volatility in there is normal and expected. What at the current moment is not great in terms of being, having alt season hopium is the fact that we're seeing stablecoin dominance start to increase again. And this is really only in the past couple of days. So in a situation where stablecoin dominance was dropping like this and total 3 was going up and Bitcoin dominance was going down, this was an indication right here, first indication, money rotating out of Bitcoin into ETH and alts. And this an indication that it was indeed rotating into ETH and alts and not into stables. Ever since Sunday, we now have an indication that some money is starting to flow back into stables. And this might be end of month profit taking. It might be a little bit of indecisiveness over what's going to happen here. We have an FOMC meeting on tomorrow with a Fed rate decision. Personally, I don't expect any rate cut. I don't think really too many people do. Much bigger possibility, or at least seems to be much more sentiment for a rate cut in September than there is here in this July meeting. Let me just give a quick refresh on this and see if this has changed at all in the past couple of days. Oh, now, yeah, I mean, there's like 2% of people polled think that there might be a rate cut. There's not going to be a rate cut, and unless Trump really had a wrestling match in a meeting with Powell last week when he ambushed him in that tour of the Federal Reserve construction job. Maybe something was said, but I doubt that Powell is going to jump through hoops for the president at this stage. He's held the line so far, and if we move into September, which is the next next FOMC meeting, at least about 65% think we could see a cut there. So those are things to look forward to. Not expecting any change here in this month. So no cuts expected. We do have that normal volatility here at the end of the month, and you can see it on Bitcoin as well. Bit of a breakdown for Bitcoin, losing the 21-week moving average. 21-day moving average, whereas ETH also losing at least the structure, losing any moving averages here. And let me show you what's good. Okay, obviously losing this short term is not great, but the macro still is quite healthy. You can see trend precognition gave us a down signal on the daily chart, and even the weekly I think was not looking super strong. You can see the momentum shift down here as we started to see ETH lose momentum after these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive green weeks. Momentum shifts are expected when that happens, right? Profit taking happens. The smart money takes profit when price is going up, and they buy when price is going down. And so this is, these are positives. We can extend this line probably, like so. And so the macro is still very, very healthy at this point. We do have, excuse me, looks like we have a unwinding trying to happen here, but look how closely correlated these weekly moving averages are between the 50 and the 100 moving average. That's pretty tight. On the daily time frame, this looks good. We're unwound here, right? We have the green 21, the red 50, the blue 100, and faintly you can see the purple 200 moving average, 200-day moving average unwound here on a recent golden cross after the 100-day crossed above it. So those are all positives in terms of the trend. Also positive is closing above these timescape levels. We have closed above the annual timescape level. We're on the weekly time frame, so this is actually the first week of the year. We've closed above the recent quarterlies. Here's actually the January 1, and here's that first week of the year. This is a pretty good move right here. But above this and above this, that's hugely positive. And of course, above the quarterlies, also very, very positive. So as long as price stays above these levels, that trend very, very healthy in my opinion. And you can see how we have some correlation between the moving averages and these levels. This was our recent quarterly open down here near the 100-day moving average, and the 200 sits up here above the yearly open. So this is all looking very, very strong to me. Should we happen to get a retest, this would be a gift in my opinion. And so that brings me to why we're seeing a little bit of a pullback right now. Again, this may have something to do with the monthly candle coming to a close. We often see volatility around that. We also have the fact that we have some economic data coming around that may fuel some of the, how should I say, insecurity or uncertainty about what's happening in terms of the economy. And of course, again, we have tomorrow's FOMC, expecting a nothing burger out of that, but you never know how the market's going to react. We'll always, of course, be listening for sentiment from the Fed chair. And so we'll be watching these numbers to see if this gives us any momentum in either direction after those numbers are released over the next couple of days, and probably more importantly, what we see on after the Fed chair speaks on Wednesday, we have some more impressive, or at least more important numbers coming out on Thursday and Friday that the market's really going to be in tune to. So we'll be watching that to see if we get any change and anything that serves as a catalyst to move the market in either direction. Back to ETH now. We talked about these big flows, right? And as you can see, ETH inflows have been on the positive for weeks on end at this point. Yesterday, a little bit of selling out of two entities, out of Fidelity and out of Grayscale. But largely it's been big numbers collectively for ETH on inflows. And these have actually outpaced Bitcoin ETF flows quite a bit on several days over the past 2 weeks. So, these were all sell-off days, money rotating into ETH, and now we're seeing a bit of a pullback. Why? And I have a little bit of a hunch that might be because of this news that came out today. The Tom Lee's Ethereum treasury firm Bitmine, this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the stream, approved $1 billion stock repurchase program as its holdings reached 625,000 ETH. What does this mean? This is it's a little bit complex, and so I would encourage you to go read the article so I don't take 5 minutes to explain it, but I will tell you the quick version is this does not mean, unlike an ETF, right? When ETFs buy and sell, or ETF inflow and outflow, they're selling that, or we know they have to buy it to be able to back it. We presume that they're selling it when there are outflows. When I say selling it, I mean the underlying asset, Bitcoin or ETH, right? In this instance, Bitmine does not have to sell any of the assets that they hold. Okay, they're merely trying to sell stock at a discounted rate to buy back, to generate funds to buy back. Excuse me, to buy more ETH. And if this causes a dip in price, guess what? That's good for them because they're going to buy it cheaper. So I don't think that Tom Lee or Bitmine have any concern about ETH price dipping right now. They're quite happy to buy because they know that this is a growing trend, and while this is a huge bet, they're all in on this bet. I mean, they have already spent or raised and bought billions of dollars of ETH. Okay, and so they're trying to buy more, and that speaks to the long-term health and the long-term outlook, I should say, of Ethereum. So if you think that the financial system is going to be built on ETH and executed on ETH, then it might behoove you to build or add to an ETH position if you haven't done so already. I will tell you that I personally have been way overweight on Bitcoin for a long time. And this has me rethinking my portfolio weights. And I am going to rebalance here at the beginning, at the end of the month, and add ETH, increase my ETH position. And so, part of Bitmine's strategy here is to stake it, right? They're going to stake ETH. They're going to earn money on fees. They're going to stake. They think it's going to be a revenue generator alongside the appreciation in the asset. And so, again, I personally choose to own the underlying asset, then invest in the company that is building a treasury. You do what's right for you, but this points to a pretty positive outlook for ETH, in my opinion. Now, what does this mean for the rest of the market? Right? We know that Bitcoin holds this status as digital gold. And the narrative here is that ETH will be digital oil. What does that mean for the thousands of altcoins out there? And what's going to be interesting is as we close out this month and we move into the next month, is will alts move with ETH, right? Like there's periods where we say a high tide raises all boats and the market tends to move together, right? Where Bitcoin moves and ETH moves and alts move, the market is generally up or generally down. When we see a divergence between ETH and Bitcoin, we understand that and we see that rotation happening. Now, where I think we're going to see a big shift is I think we're going to start to see money rotating out of alts into ETH and Bitcoin. And at what level that happens and where the dominance finally settles will be very, very interesting. But, when you look for an alt season, you kind of have alts moving alongside, in the wake of ETH. And if we see something happening where, for example, these divergences don't stay divergent or as divergent very long, and we see U.S. Or stablecoin dominance going back down, that would be an indication that hey, maybe all of the alts aren't rising with ETH. And I think we're going to get to a point, especially the more TradFi gets its DNA on the crypto market, and trust me, they are trying to get a stranglehold on it now. I think we're going to see fundamentals matter more. This is something I've been looking for since I first started trading back in 2017. Where are the fundamentals and when do they matter? And I think they're really starting to matter. So that means you focus on the projects with purpose, the projects with use cases, the projects that are really doing something, that are building and quite frankly, making they're solving problems and making the world a better place. At least our financial system, a stronger system. And so I think we're going to see a migration. That may mean that eventually memes kind of fade away, and which is which is a hard statement to make right now, because we know that memes have been a high performing asset for a very long time. But that I would just find it, um, quite frankly, ludicrous for that to stay that way forever. Not when you have real world assets, not when you have real use cases, not when you have real problems being solved with some of these other projects. So that's something to watch. And in terms of where you sit now, right? If you got all excited about alt season and you started aping into coins early, and those coins are moving against you right now, you really need to think long and hard about what you're doing and where you're putting your money. And in terms of those short-term trades, I would say, looking at this timescape levels that I've been sharing with you guys recently can really, really be helpful for you, because it's quite frankly the simplest form of technical analysis I've ever seen. And you can simply look at the levels and know if you are in a position of strength or weakness. You can see Solana here actually lost the yearly open here. It's been fighting for it for days, and it's fallen. At the moment, holding support here at the 21-day moving average. But this needs to reclaim this level, or there's more downside. It's simple as that. Now, look what's happening here. The 50 and the 100-day moving averages are attempting an unwind here as well. And golden crosses could do indeed, while it's a lagging indicator, it indicates upward momentum. So this is trying to unwind, but they're literally overlapped right now. Let's see, the blue and the red. Yeah, they're 7 cents apart. So this is not over yet, but it seems to be trending in the right direction, is the point that I'm making here. And if these all pull up above, right, if ETH can hold this and raise above this annual open, then these will unwind and we'll see this upward trend continue. And you are in profit. You would have another level up here with the first weekly open, that would obviously be important to clear to really find our way into price discovery for Solana. But regardless of what asset you're looking at, this is an indicator that you really might have interest in checking out. So keep that in mind here. As for ETH and Bitcoin, Bitcoin, as you can see, already well above all those levels, but currently fighting for this 21-day moving average, which it lost today. And so with a little bit of time between now and the monthly close, I usually expect volatility, and we usually see it. Now, looking on the charts here, this is fire charts. Here's ETH. You can see kind of what appears to be a kind of a guardrail situation of bid liquidity and ask liquidity. Decent sized walls. These aren't huge, but we're talking about one exchange. We have walls of bids and asks that are keeping price pinned in this range, quite probably until we get through at least the FOMC meeting tomorrow, if not the monthly close. And same thing on Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been pinned in a pretty tight range. We've been flirting with it here, but you have a nice bid ladder all the way down to 110K that could come into play if price can punch below this 116.750. We have a decent little block of bid liquidity here. You can see asks strengthening at 125, and the range right now 120 to 116.750 is where price sits and is trading right now. If price punches through this, then these guys are going to get filled, and they want to. I truly believe that this wall, unlike a lot of them, that this bid ladder would like to get filled. So be aware that that could be coming, and if it does, that sounds like a flash sale to me, and a good opportunity to accumulate more Bitcoin at a discounted price. And I would again use that timescape levels indicator to determine where those potential bottoms could be. We see nice confluence here between between these two moving averages. You have two key levels, and you have another one down here at the 200-day moving average. So all of these are potential targets. um, I happen to like the ones above the trend line the most. However, bounces from the 200 day moving average really tend to be pivotal moves for Bitcoin. And as for ETH, it's kind of similar in what you're looking for. You're looking for strength above those key time-based levels, and we currently have some stacked around that 3650 range, and then on down to the 3300s. I had a bid down here like last week, and it just and big and ETH just never looked at it, just ran away from me. So I'm looking to accumulate more ETH in my life too, and to do it, I've got my my mean reversion indicator turned on to let me know when I'm getting that dip that I want to add on. And if you haven't seen this one before, it's one you want to check out. It's the MTF mean reversion indicator from Material Indicators, which incidentally, we're having a sale right now, 30% off Premium Plus. You can get all the tools that we make at Material Indicators right now at a deep discount. And I encourage you to do that because that sale is about to end here at the end of the month. So as you can see, it's been pretty tight and has not really dipped into a level. We had a couple of dips on Thursday of last week, and that was around that 3,500 range. Those are good entries, as you can see. This is a rock solid indicator, by the way, my friends. Battle tested for years. Been using this one since like, I don't know, 2018, since well before we launched the company. I can tell you that. And it really thrives in volatility. You can set it to any deviation you want. If you want to buy shallow dips for scalps, or you want to buy deeper dips to dollar cost average, this is one you want to check out. You can get more info on that and all the tools that I shared with you at materialindicators.com. Going to wrap it right there, my friends. And as always, appreciate all of the support. Do me a favor, if you like the content I've been sharing with you, smash some buttons, hit the like, drop me a comment, tell me what you like, tell me what you're looking for, and I'll try and add that in my future, in some of my future streams. And by all means, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of these future streams, and most importantly, so you don't miss out on the data that I'm sharing. Quick question from Alex: have you seen the behavior of the BNB token? I think we talked about BNB one day last week. I used to love BNB, man. When I was back in the day when I was allowed to trade on Binance, BNB was my jam. I could scalp that thing like nobody's business. I made a lot of money off of BNB back in the day, and was very fortunate to get it on a good ride, up. Let's see what BNB looks like right now. Unfortunately, I'm not on Binance anymore, and so I don't trade BNB anymore. It was great. I was getting 25% off of my trading fees, because I held it, and it was appreciating all along the way. BNB broke an all-time high recently, so this is no longer valid. Let's see. Yesterday, new all-time high for BNB. Are we surprised that it's cooling off after that a little bit? No. What was that high? 861.10. So let's go ahead and just take care of this while we're at it. 861.10. New all-time high. And coming off of big candles This is a nice little run here. 2%, 1%, 6%, not huge. And as you can see, we were just talking about this the other day. BNB obviously in price discovery at this point, right? And it's above all of these timescape levels. The moving averages have recently unwound as recently as July 17th. Looks like the last July 7th, 17th or 18th. That was the last golden cross. Moving averages are unwound on the daily. The weekly also looks really good, right? No crossed moving averages. This is in a positive, obviously a positive trajectory here after a long consolidation level. So I think that BNB is in price discovery mode. Hope that answers your question. How high can it go? That's a good question. Let's take a look. Let me turn off some of the noise here. Turn off trend precognition, and I'm even going to turn off timescapes. And let's just draw let's see what we've done here. From the prior high, yeah, I was talking about that run. This was my last. This is probably the best trade I've ever had, actually. Historically, was a 17x I did on BNB. This was this the high? This was 691. This was 669. Okay, so let's do a little fib extension and see what we get from that cycle top down to the low was here, and that puts, and I'm just roughing this in, right? These aren't perfect, but that puts us at possible, the next fib extension anyways is a 1.618 at 1,000, just above $1,000. So that's a nice target from here. Next level, I would just go fib extensions, right? And if you want to draw those differently, if you want to do a something more recent from the recent swing high to swing low, you could. That would look something like, let's see, that would look something like this. If we took it from here down to the low, that would be, let's take this one out. That's shy of $1,000. I like the macro, to be honest with you, but in either scenario, you just have to watch and see how things are developing, how volume is along the way. But as you can see, we have just a short-term downtrend, a short-term profit taking happening right here. I would, unless you get a dip to a key level that you're comfortable with, I would be probably waiting to see how we get the monthly, what the monthly close looks like. Do we get any new trend precognition signals on the monthly close that might indicate that we're going to see a deeper correction in the weeks to come? Let's see. Let's look real quick and see what the quarterly was. Long on the quarterly, and we've already hit that, right? We've already got a higher high out of the quarterly. That's a 22% candle. So I'll be looking on the monthly to see if we have anything new developing. You can see our monthly, this month was green. And so what's going to happen at the candle close? Will we get another green arrow? Will we potentially get a red arrow? Will we see a change in the A1 algo? This is trend precognitions. I have two different algos running for trend precognition. This is the A2 plus algorithm with the arrows. And this version right here is just the strength meter of the A2 plus arrows. And this is a completely different algo. And this orange line in the middle is the one that tells us what the trend is in real time. Okay, so if this ticks down at the monthly close, then we could conceivably trigger a red short signal. If it continues upward, then or extends upward, I should say, then that would be an indication that we have an extension of the trend. Hope that gives you some insight to that. Alex, always a pleasure, my man. Always a pleasure, and I appreciate you sticking with me for all this time. Been with me for a long time, man. I appreciate the OGs for sure. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it right there. This has been an informative and insightful one, I hope, for you. Again, if you have questions or you have comments or things that you would like to see on future streams, drop a comment, and I will do my best to integrate that. Either way, I will always respond, always engage with your guys' engagement on my content as well. So hope this gives you some insight as we head into the monthly close. Expecting volatility, but we do have some liquidity in place that just might dampen that volatility. So I'll be watching fire charts to see if that dynamic changes as we get closer and closer to the monthly close. With that, I'm going to wrap it. Have a good one, guys. As always, here's to trading smarter. And don't forget, 30% off Premium Plus at materialindicators.com. That deal